Hey, it's Taryn with The Remote Yogi, and today we're going to be diving into different ways to use yoga blocks. So whether you're newer to yoga or you're a seasoned yogi, there's a lot of different ways to use blocks to make poses easier or even make poses more challenging. So real quick before we dive in, just wanted to show you, I've got two different sized blocks here. Neither one's really right or wrong. It really just depends on what you like. If you want something that's thicker, it's going to give you a little bit more support, a little more firm. If you like something more thin, then sometimes you can get really nice stretches in the spine. I'll show you that in a little bit. Or sometimes you just don't need as much space. So totally up to you. I got this thicker one on Amazon for maybe $6. I got this tiny one from Walmart for $3. So it doesn't really matter if you get the fancy wooden or cork ones. You can get these cheap foam ones. They work just fine, and they're easy to throw around your home. So let's get started. We'll dive into a couple different ways to use these blocks. So the biggest way to use blocks in yoga is to find some extra length in the body. So number one, we start off with finding length in the body that's going to help us find proper alignment. So let me show you what I mean. When we're in a pose here like lunge, sometimes we don't have enough space to really open and let the chest extend forward like it should. See, we've got this slumping action. It might be hard to get the hands onto the ground. The way to find some extra space in this pose, just throw the blocks underneath the hands, either this way or even higher. We've got that extra space here. Now we can find some extra movement because we've got the extra support. Another way we use the blocks to find proper alignment is in poses like triangle, where maybe our hand can't go all the way to the floor without us dumping the weight forward. We can grab that block, bring the hand to the block so we still have some support. We're not balancing on the leg and wobbling. We've got this here. And then we can find our triangle without dumping the chest forward. So again, just finding length. We use this again to find length in balancing postures. So maybe stepping this block out for our half moon pose. Again, just finding some length where usually the hand would be down on the floor. That's much harder to balance than when we've got it up on the block. Another option is in any kind of standing pose where you're folded forward. If you can't yet bring the hands to the ground, you can always bring the hands to blocks, and that just helps you feel a little bit more stable and balanced. Some other great ways that we use yoga blocks is for extra support. So if you're sitting on the floor and you've got your knees way up above your hips, it doesn't really feel good, and we're gonna end up curling into our backs a little bit. We wanna open up. Easy way to do that is to sit up on your blocks. So maybe one or two blocks, place it underneath the tailbone. This will let the knees kind of come down either in line or below the hips. And then we can sit nice and tall here with the extra support. Other options for support might be in pigeon pose. So if you're in pigeon pose and you notice you're really high in the hips like this, you've got a lot of space, option here is to throw a block just underneath the sit bones, and then you can rest and you're not going to hurt yourself by falling into the hips. Another one for support, this is one of my favorites, is finding a bridge pose that you can rest into, and you can hold this for a lot longer. Get this nice opening in the shoulders. So you can rest either onto the block flat like this, or maybe even turn it up. We're just placing it on the bottom of the back or top of the tailbone here. And then you can rest and enjoy this posture, let the shoulder blades roll back, maybe even play with a little supported shoulder stand. Other ways to use yoga blocks is to help get some deeper stretches or just to kind of relax into poses, like those supported ones. I'm going to show you my favorite way to use blocks. So I like to stretch out my shoulders as often as I can, being somebody who works on the computer all day. So in poses like child's pose, where I sink back and let my arms come forward, oftentimes I'll bring blocks and place my elbows up on the blocks. This is going to allow my head to fall through and open further into the shoulders. Another way I open the shoulders using blocks is to make a little T that I'm going to lie back on. So taking a more narrow block, You can place it up against the spine when you lie back, in between the shoulder blades. And the other block will be here to support my head. So just aligning things how it fits best for you. I like to come and do a little reclined cobbler at the end of a practice and just lie here, letting my chest really open, letting the shoulder blades fall out to the side. Just another way to open up here. One more way we use yoga blocks is to strengthen and find ways to engage the body. One of the ways to do this is by squeezing the block in between the thighs when you're doing poses like chair pose or bridge pose on the floor. So when I'm here in chair pose and I've got the block tucked in between my thighs, I'm constantly having to engage by squeezing in. This is going to make sure that we're slowly turning the thighs inward rather than letting the knees fall out to the side, causing injury, and also just strengthening the legs while we're in these poses. One last way I like to use blocks to do a little extra strengthening is in kind of ab poses or poses that you need to find some extra space. I like to bring these blocks underneath my hands in staff pose, press into the blocks where I've got my seat off the floor. So I've got a little bit more engagement. I'm working the arms. And then I can play around with lifting the legs, see how that feels. And we can engage more arms and abs using blocks. That's all I have for you today. There are probably hundreds of ways to use blocks, just hoping to get your imagination flowing. Make sure to check out the blog if you're on my YouTube channel for further explanations. And stay tuned. Next week, we're going to be reviewing yoga straps and how to use those to engage your practice. See you next time.